Okay, class. So today we are going to start the manufacture and design of our Lego characters. And we're going to start by designing the head. So the first thing we have to do is to come up to the top left here and we have to start a new part once we've opened Inventor. So left clicking on the icon will bring us up with our new file window. We always want to make sure we are working in metric, and we are going to create a new part and we want to come along to this one here. So make sure it says standard mm so that you know you're working in millimeters. So double clicking on that with my left click of my mouse, that's going to open up a nice new part on Inventor. So up the top, we now need to start a new sketch. So like I said, we are going to start by designing the head of our Lego character. So left clicking once again on the icon, we are going to click and we are going to choose a work plane. So let's opt for the YZ plane. Left click to choose the plane. And we are now in sketch mode. We can see these commands along the top ribbon here have now become coloured and able to be used. So to design this Lego man's head, what we are going to do is we are going to click on the line command. So again, on the icon, left click. And we are going to bring our line command down to the origin. So that's where you see this yellow dot in the center here, and hover over until it snaps in place. Left click once it's snapped and bring your line command, bring your line straight up the way. Okay, so straight up. And before you left click once again, place it, you can type in the size that you want this to be. And we want this to simply be 10. So hit enter. Okay, so we've drawn a 10mm line. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to click to place some random sized lines. So copy the pattern that you see on the screen in front of you. So you're going to come along to the right, making sure that it is at 90 degrees on the screen, you can see there. Then you're going to come down, you're going to come across, again making sure all these lines are at 90 degrees, that are perpendicular from each other. We're then going to come down again, across, not lining up, and then down, across, up, and then in back to the original place. So you should have a sketch that looks something like this. Now go and hit the escape key on your keypad, and that is going to release your line command. So now you can choose a different command. So you might want to pause the video there, watch back and see what I've just done to create this shape, and then we will continue. Now what we want to do is we want to apply sizes to all of these other lines that are now left. So using our dimension command, left clicking on that, we can now select the lines and set them to be whatever size we want. So clicking on that top line that I've just clicked there, that part is going to be 2mm. This next line across is also going to be 2mm. This long edge on the right hand side here is going to be 7mm. If we zoom in, this edge here is also going to be 2mm, just like the first two sizes. So let's add that in. We have our dimension command of this part here down the bottom. This part should be set to 1mm. This height here, this line should be set to 3. And lastly, this line here should be set to 2mm. Okay, so again, you might want to pause your screen at this point. Make sure that you have all the correct sizes. I've just noticed that we've missed one wee size. This one here should also be 1mm. Okay, so there are all the sizes that your drawing needs to have. Okay, so you might want to just pause your screen and have a wee quick look. Make sure that your lines are dimensioned exactly as you see on this screen. Once you have this, what you want to do is you want to come up to Finish Sketch. so that you can come back to your 3D modeling commands. So they're now all coloured, so we can choose different 3D modeling commands. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the revolve command, which can be found in the top ribbon here. Now, what this does is it creates a body or a part by revolving one or more sketch around an axis. Okay, so this is good if you have parts that are round. So if you think about a Lego man's head, it is cylindrical, it is round. So using the revolve command is perfect for this part of our design. So left clicking on the revolve command up the top, it brings together our window. You'll see that the profile box is already got this light tint of blue because it wants us to select the profile. So if we come over to our design and click on this shape, you can see in mine it's changing colour ever so slightly. And then we need to come down and select our axis to rotate around. So if we click on axis, it's still red, we haven't selected anything. Our axis is going to be the central point that our model rotates around to become 3D. And we're going to select that very first line that we drew in, which was 10 millimeters. If we select that line, and then we click on the green tick, click OK, we are now left with a very basic head shape for our Lego character. Okay. And one last thing to get the perfect shape is we want to add a fillet. And we want to change that fillet to be 1 millimeter. And we're just going to select that top edge and that bottom edge so that you're left with a Lego head that's a little bit more rounded off. Okay, so again, probably a good point if you've not got at this stage to pause and go back and look at some of those steps that we've. So next in, with your view cube up the top right, bring your model so that you have the view cube to read front facing you. Okay, this is your front view of your model and it should look something like mine. Okay, if it doesn't, what you can do is get your model to look exactly like mine using the view cube. Left click on the cube, come down to set current view as and click on front, and that will naturally lock your view as the front. Okay, so your model should look like this. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to click this top left corner of our view cube so it's a nice isometric view, and then we're going to come over to our model tree. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to paste on the face of a Lego character. So to do that, we need to create a work plane that looks directly at the face of this model. So over to the origin folder, over to our model tree, where you see origin in the folder, if you click on the plus button, it brings up your work planes. Okay, so choose the plane that is perpendicular to the front face, i.e. it runs at the same angle. So if I was to look square on the front face, this plane would be square as well. Okay, so you're looking for the plane that is square to what our front view of our cube is. Now, once you've got that plane clicked, just by clicking the little icon at the side here, so it's highlighted and you can see it, what I want you to do is to come up to your top ribbon, come along to your work features, click the icon above the word plane, and we're going to create a new plane now. So now bringing your mouse down, you can see it's got that little square next to it to say we're creating a new plane. What you want to do is you want to just hover over the corner of your plane, left click and hold the mouse and drag it away from the model. You can then release the left click of your mouse once it is completely off of the model and click on the green arrow to say OK. Okay, so your model should now look like this with a work plane at the front, and you'll see that work plane in your model tree. Okay, so this is again probably a good point to pause, make sure you're happy with those steps and add in this new work plane. Sometimes what you might find is when you create your work plane, it comes up and it's blue. Okay, if it's come up and it's blue, that means that the work plane is negative. Okay, it's the negative side of the work plane you're looking at. So what you want to do in this circumstance is just come over to where it says work plane in your model tree, right click on the word work plane and go to the option to flip normal. Okay, that's just going to reverse it to make sure that your work plane is the colour orange, and this means that your work plane is a positive work plane. So make sure you have a nice positive work plane that is off of your model, nice and flat looking at the front face here. Okay. Once you have the work plane set, we now need to find an image from Google for our Lego character. So this is the type of image you're looking for. You're looking for a whole character, preferable, where you have the design for the head and the body nice and clear, because we're going to paste these images onto our model. Okay, so make sure you have a good clear image for your Lego character. So you might want to take a wee couple of minutes to find the correct image. Now you want to make sure it's a Lego person, because we're going to be building the features for a Lego person. Once you have that image saved to your documents, you should come up to start a new sketch, and we're going to start a sketch on this new plane that we've created. So hovering round about the edges, it'll let you select that work plane. You can see it changes colours on it. Left click to start the sketch on that plane. Okay, so that'll change views. I can double click my mouse wheel just to zoom in and out. And now what I want to do is I want to paste my image onto this work plane. So we're going to come along our top ribbon until we see this column for insert. And we're going to come up to image. And now I need you to find whatever you've saved your image to. So for me, mine is saved into my documents, down the bottom, Lego Spider-Man. Okay, I'm going to click open. You can see I've got this 2 black lines appearing. That's my image it wants to place in. So one left click will place my image. I've still got those black lines. If I click again, I'm going to place another one. What I want to do is I want to hit escape on my keyboard. Okay, that means that I've then stopped pasting in a second image. Now, this image, if it's shifted to the side, we can see is far too big for the head of our Lego character that we've just made. So we need to shrink that down. So if you hover over the corners, usually the bottom left corner will allow you to scale your image down. Now, it will shift a little bit and might come off at an odd angle. So you want to make sure you're just keeping that nice and straight, following the lines of your model until it becomes roughly the same size as the head that we've just made. Okay, so scaling that down, I'm going to make it to about there, I think. And I can shift that over my model. Now, because our work plane is in front of our model, we can't actually see. But we want to make sure that this head lines up with the image of our Spider-Man's head or your Lego character. So using our view cube, you can rotate it around, you can zoom in a little bit, and then we can just fix our image to make sure that it fits above or perfectly in line with our head that we have created. Okay, a little bit of overlap isn't the worst, but you want it to fit roughly perfect. Okay, so just shifting that image. I'm just left clicking and holding that click on the image to move it about. I'm going to shift it until I get it till about there. That seems perfect to me. Once I'm happy with that, I can come up to Finish Sketch. So left clicking on my Finish Sketch, that's going to take me back into my 3D modelling mode. And to paste that image over the top of this face, what I want to do is I want to come to Decal. I want to select the image. So again, you can see that this box is highlighted blue very faintly. That's asking me to select an image. So I'm going to click. It's now asking me to select a face. The face we want to be this rectangular, this cylindrical area here. You'll see its highlights change colour as you hover over it. So we click on that. And what we want to do is we want to say wrap the faces. Okay, so this is then going to wrap that image around our head. So now we hit OK. Okay, and we can see that our model now has a nice Spider-Man detail on its face. Now, I'm not quite as happy with that as I would like, so I'm going to come back in to my decal. If I right-click Model Tree, right-click on the word decal, and go to Edit Feature. I'm going to change that to Chain Faces rather than Wrapped Faces. There we go, that looks much better. Okay. So what I done there was I just came to the decal option, right clicked, went to edit feature, and I changed that to chain faces because wrap the face wasn't quite suiting what I wanted it to do. So I changed to chain faces. Okay, so now we have our Spider-Man face pasted on top of that Lego character that we've just created. Last thing to do then is to turn off this work plane because it's in our way. We don't want that there anymore. We're going to right click on the work plane and we're going to come down to where it says visibility up the top and uncheck that. You can also do that from your model tree on the left hand side. If you right click on the word work plane and come to visibility, just make sure that's unchecked. Basically, we're turning it off so we don't want to see it anymore. Last thing to do then is to open up our colour wheel up the top here. So we left click there, find the colour that best suits our Lego character. So I am going to go for this light red. Left click and hold that left click, drag the colour up to the top, click on the word part, click on the colour you've just selected, and then you can close that window off, and that is going to set your colour for your Lego character so that it's not that standard grey. So on the front face now, we have our Lego character's face. Excellent. So what I'd like you to do now is just to come up to the orange eye, down to save as, and call this Lego head. Okay, and make sure that that saves to your OneDrive or some form of document. If your OneDrive isn't working, make sure that you can save it to the classmates' work. Perfect, and that's you now got your Legoland's head.